What's up, fellas? Today we've got the DPP guide. I will be starting with the basics, you know, how to build, how to guess last Pokemon, how to play. Although, remember, there are no absolutes in Pokemon. You need Stealth Arc on every team, that's it. That's the only rule you need. You don't need X amount of resists to this type. I mean, generally you will want one, but, you know, with these, you know, arbitrary limitations in mind, you're limiting kinds of teams you can make. Best example I can give you, the VD 1998/Heist. He uses teams that look fucking retarded. You know, he uses water resists like never. And, you know, if the teams work, if they're structured in a way, because if they're structured in a certain way where you know how you're going to play around things with metagame knowledge you have. So you're like, alright, I don't have water resist, but when Pinger comes in, I'm going to stop it like this. That's just an example. But yeah, so, the basics. I mean, it's very tempting to just say, hey, Starmie's good, I'm going to use that. T-Tar's great. Jirachi, Heatran, Zapdos, Rotom. Whoa, these Pokemon are awesome. Breloom, Shaman, there's so Dragonite, Flygon, Infernape, Lucario, Machamp, Scizor, Metagross, Bronzong, Skarmory, all these great Pokemon. Where do I start? I know I missed out a ton, but I'm going off the dome here. Anyway, and I have my phone on shuffle in the background because there's no way I'm going to just hear myself talking. Yeah, I guess there's my fan, but and the AC, but yeah, got some company in the form of my phone. It's okay, I'm going out later. Now that I'm done justifying myself. So, you want to make a team. So, this is going to sound really simple, but you're going to want to figure out what you want your team to do. And then you figure out the best way, or the way you want to do it. Okay, so how do I do that? I mean, there are a trillion examples I could use. I could say, hey, I want my Lucario to sweep. So I'm going to find him places to set up. I'm going to have him pursue weak dude, like Gengar. So if they hit him with a Choice Scarf Pursuit, Lucario gets an SD, boom. I'm going to remove his counters because I'm going to pursue the Rotoms with my T-Tar. Then I'm going to bake the Gliscor and Ice Beam it. Luke has a free path to sweep. And I mean, you can do that for ages. But it doesn't have to be, you know, a sweeper. Or you don't have to just throw together a stall team like, okay, I'm going to wall shit and lay down spikes and wait until they lose. You know, you can do pretty much anything you want, besides stupid shit like Sun. Don't use Sun. So let's see. Some examples, you know, anyone can do anyone can use anything, but, you know, realistically, anyone can say, I want to use this sweeper, so I'm going to add this to support this sweep. Cool. But, there are other ideas. There are a trillion things. And I'm not trying to go in a super advanced mode or anything like to overwhelm you, like, oh man, we're in the advanced part of the class already. I just called it a class, I'm sorry. But like, let's say, one of the things I've been using for a year now, wow, time goes by fast, is Metagross, Lead, and then Custap Berry Machamp. It's basically around the idea that these Pokemon are extremely good at not dying and getting kills, and then, you know, possibly getting a second one with Custap Berry, which is a very underrated item. I mean, it's seen some use from great players, but by and large, it is not common. Even though sets like Custap Magnezone have become commonplace, and Custap Machamp has become more expected. But things like that, you know, they tend to take things out, barely hang on at low health. Then when the next poke comes in, they go first and they fuck something else up. That's the idea, and it's like just thinking. That's just the first example off the top of my head. But think of ways you want to accomplish things. And remember, metagame knowledge is necessary for you to pull this off. Like, if you know how shit plays, you can make anything work. I mean, not anything, realistically. I mean, I'm not saying go out and make Gravity Sun Trick Room, but yeah, you get the idea. Anyway, so, I guess after we've gotten through that, you know, team building spiel, we can talk about, you know, the metagame. What is the metagame? So, there's a very wide variety of styles, and there's no real one that dominates. I mean, sometimes there are going to be more playstyles that are more popular than others. It happens, duh, but it can be offense, balance, bulky offense, stall, semi-stall, and a trillion things in between that you can't really classify. You can come close, but like, this isn't hyper offense, but it's not offense. It's kind of slow, but it's not bulky offense. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. Odds are you might not, but hopefully you will. And I'm not trying to say, you know, go out and make crazy fucking teams with Kabutops and Snorlax and shit, but you just get the idea. No one ever died because they were too creative. I'm sure someone died because they were creative. So, the metagame. Let's get back to that. So, since there's a wide variety of styles, you know, you're not going to be able to, where was I going with that? Wide variety of styles, lots of different Pokemon, but there are some that are more common than others. Heatran is most commonly cited as the best Pokemon. Some people, like Panamaxis, think it's overrated as hell. I don't use it as much as, you know, best Pokemon would, you know, indicate, but it's definitely top 3, for sure. Maybe top 5, sometimes. Top 4, let's say. I personally think the best Pokemon is Tyranitar. And it's because he tanks hits from really, really dangerous Pokemon, like the aforementioned Heatran, and Zapdos, and Rotom. And he hits back so hard, and he hits in such a different variety of ways. And Sandstorm is huge. Without Tyranitar, a lot of teams would lose to Rain Dance Kinger. And I know that sounds stupid. Yeah, he's weak to water. You can put a Pasho Berry on this, but it's just the same cutting it off. It's huge. And I mean, the Spadef boost, that's monstrous. He would not be taking Zapdos' Bex Thunderbolts without those. I mean, not that he does a great job anyway, depending on the set, but you get the idea. And his pursuing capabilities, they open up sweepers, they open up spinners, they open up spikers. It's just huge, and you can roll a million different ways, depending on your team. That's another great thing I love about TPP. Depending on your team, you can do a lot of different things. Super fun. Anyway, so Tyranitar, up there. Don't be weak to it. A lot of people are weak to DD Tyranitar because they overload on special attackers. And they're just like, yeah, I'm just going to kill every... Oh, man, T-Tar used DD. My revenge killer is a Scarf Rotom. I mean, tricking it into whatever move and then sending somebody else out is not reliable. You will lose. Let's see, what else? Heatran, Jirachi. Jirachi's a big one. It can also run a million ways. I think some people think that Jirachi is even better than Tyranitar. And sometimes I could see that. Jirachi can do a million things. It is very dangerous against pretty much every team, depending on its moveset. Some stalls, you know, could give a shit about it for the most part, but it's a threat. It's huge. And I could write a whole guide about it itself in DPP. I could say that for T-Tar too, but man, I hate it when a song comes on and I don't recognize it at first. Makes me feel like a safe. Oh, I just didn't hear the guitar. Okay. Yeah, this is no mana. This is a finished melodic death metal band. But you don't care. What else? Starmie. And here's the thing about Starmie. There are Pokemon that certain people crutch on in every gen. And in DPP, Starmie is easily the #1 crutch. Now, it was almost anti-metagame in a sense, because at the end of the generation, then things were Fire, Water, Grass, and Life Orb Starmie, which is really rare now. Which, not really, okay, yeah, it is really rare, because everyone crutches on the bulky spin sets. They're like, they have this misguided idea that DPP is all about hazards, which is, okay, it's not wrong, but just because there are some teams that are very good at keeping spikes does not make it anywhere close to a spikes infested tier. Oh shit. Headphone, earbud. Just looking for this. So, do not crutch on Starmie. And do not crutch on Starmie as your only check for things like Heatran and Infernape. Good players, and I mean most teams that are built well, that everyone's going to be stealing, they will have a way to deal with this. Not everyone might be able to recognize this, but I mean, if your only way of beating Infernape is Starmie, I mean, this isn't bad. It's faster, it kills it 3 times over, blah blah blah. Okay, it used U-turn on your switch. T-Tar came in, it's pursuited, now what? Is that your only fire resist? Or are you gonna die to, you know, Scarf-Tran Fire Blast? Are you gonna get swept by CB Flare Blitz? Don't crush on Starmie. Especially if it is your sole way of dealing with stall teams via removing their hazards. People fall into this pit with these balance teams. You know, they have their Rock Swampert and their Starmie, and they're just asking to be eaten up by any stall team. It's not a good combo. You will, you know, just get picked apart. Not only can stall, you know, sit on Assassin because it doesn't do much damage. I think Starmie, it's great at clearing hazards. I mean, it's clearly the best. Not that there are like a wealth of options, and this is not why it's quote-unquote Spike's battles. Don't listen to people who tell you that shit. But, I mean, there are other options, but we'll get to it. Anyway, Starmie is great at this job if you hold back. It should not be your only option, and you should not be overeager. That means no sending it into Skarmory on turn 3 when they've got a full health fucking Rotom and T-Tar and Blissey and some special defensive grass. Yeah, you're begging for trouble. Not to mention specially defensive Scarf can PP stall. It can't PP stall Rapid Spin. Rapid Spin is twice the PP of both Spikes and Stealth Rock. Spikes is 24, I think. I know Spikes is 24 in Oris, and I've never really bothered to count it in DPP, which is really weird because I've been playing it since 2009. I think it's there. I really don't remember. Spikes is more PP than fucking Rapid Spin is more PP. Okay, you can't fuse that. What you can do, and not all Scarves have Brave Bird. Some of them have Taunt. But the Brave Bird ones, aka the good ones, you will want to be able to hit Breloom and Infernape and Starmie. And Machamp, oh my god. But you can't touch it with Hydro Pump. Hydro Pump is APP, okay? And it's not touching for that Scarf with 0 investment. Thunderbolt, okay, you're doing maybe 40. Meanwhile, it's Brave Birding. You know, especially because you're focused on Rapid Spinning those Spikes as soon as they go away, because you're so anal about having to play with hazards. I used to do this all the time, but you gotta grow out of it. So, you're gonna, he's gonna Brave Bird, you're gonna recover, he's gonna Spike again, propagate you to Rapid Spin again, because you cannot bear the thought of playing with a hazard on your side of the field. And he's gonna stall you out of those 16, recovers really quick, or he's gonna eventually take advantage of this pattern he's luring you into, and switch to Rotom or Tyranitar, and it's a mess, okay? It's not pretty. Don't crunch on fucking bulky-ass Starmie. I hate to use this word, but it is a very passive way of dealing with hazards. That said, Starmie is a great Pokemon. You have to be able to deal with it. Offensive sets, I mean, they shred fucking everything. So, what the fuck is on now? Oh, it's Sprayquan. Okay. Starmie, great. Yeah, don't lose to Starmie. It's gonna have Water Stab, and then, oh, it's M&M, I'm sorry. It's, criminal. Anyway. So yeah, Water Stab, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Rapid Spin, Recover. Sometimes it runs choice sets. It runs Specs, Trick with Psychic as a lead, but that's not really reliable because Machamp likes to run Sash now. We'll get to Machamp lead soonish. And yeah, so Starmie, it's big. So we've covered Heatran, T-Tar, Jirachi, Starmie. I won't like write a thesis about every single viable Pokemon in the metagame, but those are like big guns. Don't lose those. Another big gun, Rotom. I mean, this is sort of self-explanatory. It's got amazing typing and all that. It blocks spin. It's a great revenge killer. It's offensively really powerful. But yeah, it's Electric Ghost. Remember that. It is not Electric Water. It's not Grass for the cut form. You can, like, theoretically, unless you're using one of the signature moves, and odds are you're using Hydro Pump, sometimes Overheat, and if not, then you can theoretically use any form. Most people, if they don't do that, if they aren't using a move, they go with Wash. Because, I mean, Overheat bluffing doesn't really work. Hasn't worked for a long time. Well, Hydro Pump, sure, that bluff will work. But yeah, you can theoretically use any form you want if you're not using anything. Although, I mean, objectively, you could say Waj is the best because, you know, letting them know you don't have Hydro Pump is kind of not great when two of its most common answers are Heatran and Tyranitar. But, you know, you get the idea. You really want to run fucking Rotom Fan. Or, yeah, Fan. And, or Frost. The Fridge. There's one team from a couple years ago that had spent Rotom Frost and Blizzard on a team with Mix of Bomb and Snow, but it's not really good. I wouldn't recommend it. Then again, I'm only one guy, and you should not take my word as absolute. For, like, my opinions, they're just me. For example, I do not think that, let me think of a really radical opinion. I don't think Rotom is a top 5 Pokemon in DPP. Really radical. But I mean, it's up there, obviously. But also, I think Breloom is fucking incredible, and certain offenses are nearly required to run it. We'll get into that later. Anyway, other important Pokemon. Infernape. Infernape's huge. Because, I mean, on paper, almost every team has Infernape issues. I mean, I am very, very rarely confident against Ape. Especially because the Grass Knot HP Ice set, I mean, you can pretty much switch Gliscor or something into it and, you know, get away with it for the most part in the CB and the physical mix with Overheat. You're good. You know, it hit Powdon, but it whips, or even Swampert, but it whoops out that Grass Knot HP Ice. I mean, it can't U-turn on Starmie. And that's a big reason why the physical oriented sets are the #1. But if it nails that prediction, then, or if you're using a bold Starmie, and it hits you on the switch, and it sees it's faster via Sandstorm. People do not pay attention to this shit. If you get hit by Sandstorm first, you are faster. Stop switching the fuck out of that Starmie with your Infernape. Anyway, I just said anyway twice in a row. There's 3. So Infernape, really dangerous. Can run. It really, like, rarely will run boosting sets. Nasty Plot and Sword Dance. Yeah, it gets Calm Mind. Shut the fuck up. SD, Nasty Plot, it can run them. Usually it won't, but, like, it's feasible. Its advantage is that it has fighting stat for the fighting weak revenge killers that you normally stop Lucario, Scartran, Scartar. And remember, agility Lucario screws those guys over too, but it doesn't have the wall breaking power, etc. Although it does break one wall, fucking Gliscor, someone will encounter. Anyway, Infernape, it's big, it's bad, it's mixed, it's fast. Yeah, it's got some nemesis. It's mainly Starmie and Gengar, but remember, Pursuit weak, and it's got U-turn. So, Infernape, dangerous poke. It doesn't really accomplish a ton defensively. I mean, if you keep it healthy, it might keep you from getting swept by late game SC Scizor. And it's powerful Mach Punch, which is another reason the physical mix sets are used so much. Or physical sets, rather. Not all of them are mixed. I think Choice Band is the #1 set. Because it prevents a lot of dangerous setup sweepers. DD Tyranitar, Agility Empoleon, any Lucario. So, yeah, that's Infernape. Other guys, Zapdos. I fucking love Zapdos. It's incredible. It's really strong. It's for the guys, you play Black and White and Oris. You guys know Thundurus there. Zapdos is fucking, I would say even better, but that's me. It's easily around that level. Zapdos is great. It can do a ton of things. It can go offensive or defensive, whatever you want. Yeah, Breloom. Breloom's awesome. You remember, in this gen, there are some mechanic differences. Mechanic differences. And I'm kind of glad that I don't have, specific areas of this broken up. I am doing this on the fly, because now you have to watch the whole thing so you don't miss anything. Mechanic differences. Big one. Life Orb does not activate when you hit a sub. So, for example, your Gengar is out against Infernape. It's Life Orb. Life Orb Infernape. You sub, and you're like, okay, I'm going to sub. If he switches, I get the sub up. If he stays in, then he dies to Life Orb. And, because you don't want to fucking Shadow Ball for whatever reason. Maybe you're paranoid of the Tyranitar switching, but if he's just gonna, you know, die to life orb upon hitting your sub anyway, then that's not really a good course of action. Anyway, so UU sub, he uses overheat from 9%. He will still be around. Life orb does not activate when it hits a sub. It's changed in black and white. A lot of people, including myself, are none too happy about that. Other things. Well, most people know this, but Dark is resisted by Steel, so is Ghost, which makes Jirachi a good Gengar check, you know, not unlike an Oryx where fucking gets murdered. You can spore grass types. You don't have to predict the Shaman switching with your Breloom. Just put it to sleep. Breloom is great because it counters some Pokemon that are really tough for a lot of offense to handle. Swampert and Hippowdon. Great. Also switches into Tyranitar. A lot of sets. Watch out for the, you know, mixed sets and the DD Fire Punch. But it's also got the Mach Punch revenge killing capabilities of Infernape, albeit not as powerful, but it's still really strong. Remember, Loom has a lot of attack. It just breaks walls and it annoys shit. It's great. Also, it counters Life Orb Aerodactyl, who is terrifying against a lot of Fire, Water, Grass teams. They're not really the rage they were like 4 years ago, but it's still really dangerous to a lot of teams, especially those that overload on special attackers. And sorry for losing my train of thought, but yeah, it's really dangerous. Yeah, so Loom handles that very nicely. Let's see. Loom, Shaman, offensive grass, you know, it leech seeds, it's offensive. Celebi is the same thing. Some people don't like the Pursuit and Usually Weak. Other people really like the Fight Resist. So it depends. Shaman also has Seed Flare. And, yeah, it depends. Both of them can go really offensive. Celebi has both Baton Pass and U-Turn and Stealth Rock and Thunder Wave. Thing is that with Baton Pass, since passing boost is pretty popular in the later gens, but okay, theoretically it can like happen. For example, Panamax's team, if you're following this recent World Cup, he used a nasty plot past Celebi. It's theoretically a thing, but usually, as in 99% of the time, you will not see it. So, yeah. So don't worry about things passing against each other. Insert easy Blitzcord pass joke. So, Fire, Water, Grass used to be the rage. I mean, a lot of great teams have Fire, Water, Grass, but not intentionally. Just because the Pokemon work really well together. For example, one of my best teams is Breloom, Heatran, and Starmie. And not because, wow, look at their great synergy. Fire, Water, Grass, remember, that was a UU concept. And when Salamence was banned, they were like, no dragon? I am using the fuck out of grass types. This works so well. And, I mean, Infernape kind of counts, but at the same time, it's really Heatran. But, you know, semantics. Other waters, really popular. Suicune. Now, Suicune has sort of fallen off. It used to be really, really popular with its offensive set that just cleaved shit when it, you know, first discovered. I think it was actually better than Latias metagame, but it was still a threat at the end of DPP. At the same time, it is still, you know, really hard to deal with. Offensive is by far the most common set, but it can still go on the defensive really easily. So, speaking of good Pokemon, Kingdra. Now, I really have to beg you, don't use DD Kingdra. It's not because it beats my team. I mean, in fact, if every Kingdra I faced was a Dragon Dancer, I would never lose to Kingdra teams. I wouldn't lose to the Kingdra, at least. Rain Dance, now that is a threat. Specs, now that is a fucking threat. Some people used Specs Kingdra as a Latias replacement when Latias was banned. I mean, that it's nice in theory, because Mono Specs Kingdra, it loses out on a lot of speed shit, but it's only 2 points weaker than, you know, Timid Latias from the special attack stat. And I mean, it also is a lot slower, especially if you go modest. And it can't switch it on half the shit Latias for like fighting ground, grass, electric. But I mean, it's still a great Pokemon, and I mean, it has a lot less T-Tar issues. And you know, Hydro Pump melts Skarmory, thinking, hey, I'm going to spike 3 times and phase it. Yes, Skarm can actually do that to Dragon Dance Kingdra. I mean, okay, it's not all bad, but a lot of the time it's really weak. Rain Dance, now that's a terrifying set. That will rape most offenses. They're going to at least lose a poke. The only advice I have for that is when you use the Rain Dance Kingdra, either make sure you have a clean sweep, or bring it out early and bust some holes open, because if you send it out when they have a really easy sacrifice to make, like a 2% fucking paralyzed Gengar, then, you know, that gets sacrificed and then you're getting revenge kill. It's not easy to, but, you know, it varies from game to game, obviously. Anyway, these are just some jumbled thoughts on, you know, the metagame and stuff, and I will get to more precise things in a bit as soon as I get these thoughts cleared up. I just want to get these, you know, ramblings out. Anyway, so you might like the muse in the background. My phone is very varied in its music taste. Anyway, Swampert. I mentioned that Swampert and Powdon, the bulky grabs, they're really hard pitching to deal with. Swampert's general good, you know, attribute is that it resists fire, which makes it easier to deal with. I mean, the thing is, Hippowdon is shrugging off the special fire attacks anyway. Heat Train can KO it with an unboosted Fire Blast, 2 would KO it, because the best Hippowdon set, especially defensive, is it still beats the shit out of Tyranitar, you know, for the most part, but it's a lot harder to bust through Spadef Hippowdon with Crunch T-Tar than you would imagine, even if banded. DD Shuka has the best shot, really. Maybe Life Orb. Anyway, so, and Spadef Hippowdon for Mixed Dragonite. Big threat. Anyway, Swampert. It's got another big attribute of, you know, having Ice Beam for Gliscor, who shuts down Hippo really, really hard. Unless it's, you know, SD Gliscor, you know, without Roost. In which case Hippo does a fine job, even though it's won't love boosted Earthquakes. Anyway, they set rocks, they counter Zapdos, which is huge. Another thing about the Fire, Water, Grass guys, they started, you know, Pokemon like Zapdos did a great job dismembering them, and that's why you gotta be careful not falling into that. Although that mistake is made a lot less now, so. But yeah, don't be Zapdos weak. It's one of my biggest recommendations, because Zapdos is just incredible. And I mean, even if you're not quote unquote Zapdos weak, then it's still going to be a threat. That's how good it is. It's not broken. That's the beauty of DPP. Things can be really, really fucking strong and not even close to broken. The only thing that I would ban in DPP besides Baton Pass garbage is Sandbale. Anyway, let's see. What's going on? Those guys are big. Gliscor's another big one. But it's 4 times weakness to ice, and it doesn't really operate the same because, you know, the ice Tyranitar will fuck it up something awful. But it's powerful. It's very, very dangerous. Gliscor's main set. The classic set is Taunt, Toxic, Earthquake, Max HP, Max Speed. And I mean, you can use, you know, your U-turn over Toxic if you'd like. Stealth Rock. Some people have recently been using Knockoff. That's cool. Swords Dance sets have been popping up, and they're really dangerous, especially because people miss against Gliscor a lot in general, but it seems that the Swords Dance sets have a special talent for getting more misses. It's really, like, the worst shit ever is when you try to counter a Swords Dance sub Gliscor with Hydro Pump Starmie. You are probably not coming out of that alive, even if you're faster. So, and I think that set of Gliscor in general really, but especially Swords Dance, is one of the biggest reasons why Gold Starmie isn't as effective as it once was. So, you can get more bulk out of Starmie. I mean, you're not going to be taking 70 from Star Power, but I mean, you can definitely recover on that shit. Anyway, cool. So Gliscor's really threatening, and yeah. I mean, the dominant weather is sand. You should definitely prepare for it being in the battle, because it is a lot better than, you know, not being prepared for it. I mean, some games, you know, it doesn't show up, it's cool, whatever, but, you know, be prepared for it. This Tyranitar is so good, it's so common. I think it had, like, I don't remember the exact number, but it was really, really close to 50% usage. Maybe, I think. I mean, that's kind of a big number, so I might be wrong, but I think it was definitely around that. And there's also Hippodon, of course. Let's, Rain Dance Kinker is a very special thing. So, while we're on the topic of weather, besides Rain Dance Kinker, what you can change the weather is, I mean, there's Sunny Day Tangrowth, I guess, which, it's not a thing, really. I shouldn't even be bringing it up, but it's like, it's used, it's gimmicky, but I mean, it can theoretically be sweet. Also, I think Rain Dance Ludicolo as a standalone poke, like it is an ADV now, thanks to Smurf's team. And, you know, other people like Alf and Dexa making it popular. That can also help, because transfer sand and ADV, you know, also a big deal. People look to get rid of it. But yeah, apart from Ludicolo, there is a Pokemon named Abomasnow who has a snow warning ability. And, yeah, it's very good. It's really, really strong against a lot of offense, because the only thing that, I mean, this holds true in general, but offensive teams get worn down a lot quicker with their, you know, relative lack of recovery moves and, you know, more frailty than defensive teams. They've got, the only type that resists Leech Seed is Grass. You don't really see Magikarp Clefable. We'll get to that on offense. And, you know, Grass is obviously weak to Abomasnow's stab ice moves. There's no Ferrothorn here to be neutral to it. So, Leech Seed is going to wear shit down, especially because it is a great counter to Starmie and Suicune. It can also switch into things like non-Heat Wave Zapdos, you know, most Rotoms, and it's just really, really obnoxious. You can, you know, with Calm Mind Jirachi. Ice Shard is great for Pokemon like Dragonite and Flygon. How have I not gotten to them yet? My goodness, I'm sorry. Just see when people complain about Dragon so often. Dragonite, Flygon, Ice Shard, Vegicle, Gliscor, another big one. It removes his Sand Veil, huge. Removes his leftovers too. It removes like everything's leftovers, so. You know, besides Clefable, and there aren't really any other ice types. Walrein and Frostlass is sometimes uses a Spikes lead. I think it's pretty good, but Walrein is not really a thing. I mean, people sometimes have this idea that Hail teams are like a thing. Like, in theory, yes, but they have so much to cover. And I mean, you're really, really hampering yourself by using two ice types. I mean, Abomasnow is great, but you can't just fucking throw on Walrein and just expect to have a really functioning team. You're going to have a lot of holes. I mean, I really want it to work, because Walrein is sort of ridiculous if you get it going, but at the same time, it's really hard. I'm still working on it. But I would advise against trying that. Anyway, so yeah. Since we're on the topic of ice types, we can move to dragon types. Now, dragons aren't really dominating anymore, since our good friends Latias and Salamis left us over 5 years ago. RIP. But at the same time, Dragonite and Flygon are really good. And Kingra's a dragon. Those are your three dragons, really. Some people like to get cute and run the Bite. They don't really, but it's been done. I mean, it does have I forget its exact speed, but it's decent-ish. I think it's 263 with a neutral nature, which puts it at like 291 or something with Jolly, I think. That sounds about right. Also, I don't know what Russian black metal came on, but it sounded really Russian at the beginning. But yeah, fucking Dragonite is really strong. It runs. I mean, if you're familiar with dragons and later gens, Dragonite will not really surprise you. It's DD and mixed, choice band. Some people do start before, but it's not really a thing. I think this is Russian. I don't remember the exact band though. It's either Walknut or Forest. I think it's Walknut. Anyway. Dragonite, I mean, guessing between most of the time it's safer to assume, I think it's safer to assume DD, because, well, against Mix, if the guy's got good prediction, he's really fucking your Korra, but unless you guys would have to count on. Unless he's got a lot of spikes down, but Mixed Knight is not often seen with spikes. So, yeah, that's a new strategy I'm going to work on. Spikes plus Mixed Knight. Nothing walls that shit down. Also, like, nothing really beats it one-on-one that doesn't have an ice move, you know? So, like, a defensive poke, like, Smogon Jirachi is, you know, it. But if you're a defensive poke that isn't, fucking Hippowdon or Jirachi, you're losing the Mixed Knight one-on-one. Really. Unless you've got ice. Okay, it's kind of a bad example, but, like, I'm thinking of instances where Smogon Jirachi against Mixed Knight, and you're like, okay, I can stay in. I'm going to win this one-on-one. And not much can really, you know, do that. This Dragonite threatens a lot. It's also got the extreme speed that even with the neutral nature, if you invest enough, it's more powerful than Lucario's. Lucario's extreme speed just uses revenge killing tool a lot. Priority is very important for picking off things that just barely survive first revenge killing attempts. This isn't to say that every team needs it or anything. Remember, no requirements for every team, although some teams certainly like a lot of things. But yeah, it's nice. For those of you who are used to, you know, Mega Gardevoir with 460 trillion attack and an ability that gives it Life Orb on one of its stabs, you're going to be a little disappointed by the damage here. But I think it'll be fine. Flygon is... It was really famous as a Choice Scarf user, which has gotten, you know, less common. But, I mean, it's still a great Pokemon if you pressure well with it and get rocks up and all that. Rocks, they're important. I think rocks are perfect. Maybe not perfect, but as close to perfect as they can be in this generation. So, but they're very important. That's not to say that, you know, if you don't have them, you lose. In fact, I would say that in DPP they're the least important to have for a win. Maybe in Black and White it doesn't really matter that much if it's going to come down to a Magic Guard Psychic War, although you definitely want them up so your Psychic can chip away at the other guys more, but you get the idea. Anyway, well, this is some Swedish black metal. Anyway, so, Flygon, Choice Scarf, that's its #1 thing. Use Adamant. Please do not use Jolly Scarfon. It is really bad. I promise you. Okay, so objectively, Jolly might look nice. On paper, it is... Okay, no. In practice, it is horrible. Please, just trust me on this one. Do not use Jolly Scarf Flygon. It is horribly weak. And Adamant does some great things. Like, offensive Suicune, it just jumps up. It's huge. Just take my word on this one. If nothing else, don't use Jolly Scarfon. Scarf is a great Pokemon, but Adamant is absolutely the way to go. You do not lose out on anything. So, Adamant still outrun... The only thing Jolly ever does is outrun Timid, Agility, and Polion, which is, 1, extremely rare, 2, not that good. You kind of want to be strong, and it's used to outrun Scarf-Rotom, which is, I guess, niche enough, but you want that power, man. And Adamant still beats Modest. As for other guys, you should not, you know, okay, you tie with other Scarfgon and Scarfachi. It is not that big a deal. I promise you that. And the next fastest Scarfer, Rotom, you beat him with Adamant by 1 point. Use Adamant Scarfon. Other sets. Mix is really dangerous to a lot of semi-stall or stall in general. I mean, it can't, like, bust shit open by itself. Very little can. You're going to want to, you know, play some support. You can't just bust things open with one Pokemon. It's very nice. But, you know, once it gets going, it's really dangerous. Mixgon, it used to be almost synonymous with SD Luke, because it would lure in Gliscora and Draco Meteor it, and Luke would then have its everyone counter remove it. Not so much anymore, but, you know, it's something to keep in mind for sure. And that's another thing I'll go into later, about figuring out your opponent's last Pokemon, the remaining dudes. It's not exact science, but with practice you can get good at it. Anyway, so, let's see, where are we going next? Flygon's other sets, right. Choice Band, really strong. And that's pretty much it. I mean, some people can do funky things with Flygon, but those are like Toxic Stall. I don't think it's really... Okay, it can be worth it on the right time, but it's not really, you know... I don't know if I want to say not worth talking about, but like it's it's not really a thing per se. It's extremely rare. It's a cool idea, but it hasn't been very explored yet. Although that's not to say it can't work, but it's just not, you know, a thing. Those three are the guys you want to watch out for. Mix has a few varieties, like some people like to run expert belt U-turn. It's been more popular lately, and I think that's cool. It can definitely, you know, be dangerous, especially against guys that like to protect scout with like heat train and Jirachi. But the classic mix set is Draco Meteor, Fire Blaster, Flake Burst. I think plus speed nature is big because outrunning Gliscor is kind of a huge deal. While we're on the topic of Gliscor, Spadef is kind of a thing. So is Fizdef, but they're really rare. And I mean, they are things, but Gliscor really likes its speed. Gliscor's speed is what makes it so dangerous a lot. That's why whenever I use a slower Gliscor, then I feel like I'm not using it to its maximum potential. But that's me. One of the best post-DPP teams has a Spadef Gliscor. It's the Earthworm Toxic Stall, high selects to use it. And it's got a Spadef Gliscor. Like, it's not as good anymore because if Dragonite runs a lot of speed EVs, I personally like to run Quiet, jack out both attack and special attack. But the speed is definitely viable for outrunning things like max speed T-Tar and defensive pokes like bulky Celebies and Rotoms, and also offensive guys like Empoleon and Magnezone. But yeah, then if Spadef, then you have to come in on Superpower or something if you want to beat it one-on-one. And knockoff is fun if you got some Spadef EVs, if you come in and knock off its life orb and you can restall it. But anyway, yeah, Gliscor, you want to outrun that with Mixgun a lot. But special attack, you know, no one will really crucify you for it. And it's the same idea behind Choice Band Flag. Anything works, really. It will depend on your team a lot. But, yeah. Remember, 100, it's the golden speed, really. I mean, it's not like Little Cup where you're going to be speed tying 3 things every game, but, like, guys are important at that range. You know, Jirachi, Zapdos, Cella, Shaman, Flygon. So, no longer Salamence, RIP. Let's see, what else? I got the dragons down. I got Metagross. Okay, Metagross, and while I get on that, then I can get into leads. So Metagross is most commonly used as a lead. Vortex is a great lead. It's so good at getting momentum. And just, you know, killing shit and putting you in a, you know, rocking and rolling right from the start. But I can also set up Stealth Rock with the best of them. It's very good at handling offensive leads, and against some defensive ones, you explode. I mean, Skarmory's a bitch, but what can you do? With Lum, it can also beat Machamp, although Sash Machamp, we'll get to it, likes to run a lot of speed, and that requires, it might come down to Confuse, because Metagross will not run speed a lot, or that much speed, rather. Machamp goes up to 209. Suppose it's another poke that a lot of speed EVs Mix Knight beats. On the subject of Mix Knight, don't use plus speed Mix Knight. It sucks. Power difference is huge. And the reason I know this, well, besides the fact that I've played, I'm sorry, that was stupid. But, because I used to think, okay, I don't need all this special attack with Draco Meteor, so I would, like, drop my special attack investment to, like, 308 or something and add some more HP EVs for bulk or whatever. And the power difference, which was still stronger than a hasty Mix Knight, was just awful. And, I mean, the speed, it's... So, at 284 speed, you'll tie with other Jolly Knights, which are some Banders and D-Deers. And you might also tie a Mamoswine. Extreme Speed has +1 priority. It is in the same bracket as anything else. You cannot beat Mamoswine to the Ice Shard if you are slower. But yeah, that's it. And you tie that. And oh, this is some finished black metal. This is disgusting stuff. Love it. Yeah, and then you beat Adamant Lucario, which, okay, it's big. I mean, it's gonna extreme speed you a lot. The agility sets, I could definitely see the merit of superpowering it before you ice punched it, but like, it's so much weaker. I guess against some people it's a decent pick if you're counter styling, or just on a certain team, but for the most part, trust me, you will want a special attack. You want that power. Especially because your superpowers on stream are a lot weaker if you have to invest so much in speed. That's why I like Quiet a lot. The old standard lead set. Mixed Knight is still used. It's a good lead. I mean, it's a fine lead, really. Oh, I forgot with D-Tran, it also used to be a lead. It's not as common now, but you know, Rock, Shuka, Hasho is more common now. Also use Life Orb and Specs to kill the champ or repeat. Scarf is rarely a lead. Anyway, we'll get to the finer depths of lead metagame later. But yeah, Machamp is huge. It's been a total prick for 5.5 years, and I mean, it's always going to be. It's just like the only three. There are a few certainties in life: death, taxes, and the fact that Machamp is going to be a good lead always. It's so strong at doing what it does, so effective. It started out with Lum. It's Dynamic Punch, Payback, Ice Punch, Bullet Punch, sometimes Stone Edge over Ice Punch, although hitting, because you can just confuse Gyarados and Gliscor, you kind of want to Ice Punch him. Although a larger hit on Zapdos is certainly welcome. Sometimes I run both Ice Punch and Stone Edge, because Dynamic Punch Confuse makes things, you know, you have a 50% chance of coming out on top, even if you get it wrong. And people often predict around Bullet Punch. That is huge. So if you're feeling randy at the start of the game, you can get a big payoff. People trying to dance around it. So Machamp's so good. And it used to run Lum, but nowadays, I mean, you can sleep powder it with Roserade if you have a good feeling. I've done it before. And against people you know are good, then you can definitely pull that shit off. But at the same time, it's really hard to pull that trigger. Anyway. Sorry, I had to get that out of my system. So, Lum, you know, so Rotom can't Will-O-Wisp it. But the thing is, if Rotom's switching in and trying to Will-O-Wisp you like that, I mean, if they know you're not Lum or whatever, then Machamp's #1 partner used to be your Rock Heatran, so that was a really easy switch. So, it's cool and shit. Let's see. Yeah, then it started to run Sash because Leeds started to try, that used to beat like Azelf and D-Tran, they started trying to OHKO instead. And, like Aerodactyl, some other in Sky Attack for it. Aerodactyl, classic lead, and we'll get to him. And so it started, hey man, no one's going to try to status me anyway. I'm going to Sash, I'm going to live that shit. And I think Sash is more dangerous. So, I try to assume that. And that one doesn't need bullet, because it's got Sash, so it can run max speed. So it can outrun things like Bulky Coon and Milotic and Venusaur and Spectrum and Scar and a lot of T-Tars. So the Lump set has like near max HP and some moves for that, like 16 EVs to live. Max special attack is only 70 or some shit. Yeah, Machamp is really dangerous, and sometimes you will be a little weak to it. Sometimes more so than others, and that's just going to happen. You're going to have to play around it. Machamp is a great lead. He's dangerous. Of course, good players, they are going to have a strategy against him. But he's strong. You got to deal. In a similar vein, you know, I've covered leads like the Talking Heads. Great. Anyway, leads that, you know, they come out of the gate attacking Machamp, Metagross, Dragonite. So let's go over to some Stealth Rock leads, the classic ones. Aerodactyl and Azelf. Their job, put rocks on their field, prevent others, and scout some. And Aerodactyl, people used to complain about, oh, it rocks and dies. It focuses a lot more on the future of the match than the immediate present. It sets the tone, you know. You're going to come out of the gate, you're going to get those rocks down suddenly, your pokes are real dangerous. and you're challenging your opponent. Like, can you counter my guys? Sorry, my phone buzzed. I'm gonna check it real quick. Okay, so Zelf is similar, it's slower, but it can spin block. Oh, I got Snapchat from Ojama. What's up, Ojama? Oh man, he's got a bunch of Pokemon cards. It's so fucking cool. There's a Mega Transfer, there's a Hoopa. Whoa. Anyway, that's Oris. Fuck Oris. For today, we're talking DPP. So, they're getting those rocks in. The Zelf can explode and all that. The Aerodactyl has the edge on Zelf. Zelf can, Aerodactyl can run Sky Attack Power Herb, and it will kill non-attack Machamp, but even against, Machamp has to be Sash and Stone Edge for Aerodactyl to lose. And even then, Sky Attack is a 30% flinch rate, and you can't miss because of no guard. So the 90 accuracy goes out the window. I think it's 30. I think so, for sure. So yeah, it's you can definitely, the odds are pretty much in Aerodactyl's favor there. Because Ice Punch maxes out at 99% if you've got 4 defense EVs. Or HP EVs. Use 4 defense so you don't, for Stealth Rock damage at all. But yeah, that maxes out. So you can switch out and try to come in on a double to a like non-Scarf Heatran or non-Mach Punch Balloon or something. And you don't want to assume, but you can scout that way. And maybe, the not rocks will help out. So it can run that for sure. Especially because you can't just assume, hey, what if this Aerodactyl is Sky Attack Power Herb? I'm just going to act like it doesn't have Sash. You can't do that. Anyway, Zelf is a bit more varied. It can run Colbur rocks. Classic Sash rocks. Rocks, Psychic, Fire Blast, Taunt, Explosion. It's always got rocks. Pick 3 of the other 4, depending on your team. People used to like to switch in defensive Rotom to try to catch Explosion, so if you land a Psychic on them, that's really going to hurt. Then, when Machamp started popping up, it started running Life Orb on its Stealth Rock set for Psychic to kill, and started running pure Choice Band sets. And Choice Band sets are really cool, because they also just outright O-Coach Rattata and Heatran, and dropped you in Metagross too, probably. So if you play your cards right there, you're getting a really big target out of the way. While not giving up too much yourself, because a Zelf does not cover a hell of a lot defensively. So, Choice Band Zelf, it's a fucking tank. Not a tank, it doesn't tank shit. It hits like a tank. I think you need Adamant to kill Metagross, like, more often than not. But I think it's worth it, because you can't just assume, hey, that a Zelf is plus attack, I better, try to outrun it with my Infernape. Infernape is also a lead. I forgot to mention that. More common now is the Choice Scarf lead on this one semi-stall team, but the classic set is Fake Out, Stealth Rock, Fire Blast, Close Combat, sometimes Grass Knot over Fake Out, which I think is good now, because Fake Out plus Close Combat doesn't kill Arrow anyway. It beats Roserade lead, but Roserade will switch out of Infernape lead. You have to do that. You respect the Fake Out 8, you do that. There are certain things you just do. Fuck, that's loud. Motherland Ostenbanger. This is some more Russian black metal. Yes, I have epic rap battles of history on my phone. Fuck you. This is some German power metal. Anyway. So, where was I? Zelf, Choice Bands. I think I got a little farther than that. Pulverberry was started because of Machamp being Sash, so you want your rocks and then you take it with you or you bring it down to Sash. And it's also really nice because who's Zelf's #1 nemesis? Tyranitar! Dark attacks! Conceivably the rare Weavile, but that's the main target. Yeah. This is too bad, I gotta move it to its original position. Anyway, so Zelf can also run a Scarf set. It can Trick Scarf. It can just be a pure Scarf. Oh, that's really rare. Trick Scarf is more common, and that's also rare. But yeah, Zelf is very dangerous. It can also run a life orb set. Don't buy with Nasty Plot, you won't be sweeping anyone. I mean, conceivably you can, but like, odds are you won't. I could see it, but at the same time, I personally wouldn't recommend it. You, on the other hand, you might say, hey, this guy likes to use really slow teams. I'm gonna Nasty Plot Zelf. That sounds fucking brutal, but yeah. Life Orb is a cool set, I think. You could maybe even run Pulver on it. Just quote-unquote Life Orb without the Life Orb. Anyway. Anyway, Roserade lead. Roserade is great poke, because it counters, waters if you throw them. And it's just a nice poke. Sorry, I just had to enjoy that part. Anyway, I think, what am I talking about? Spike's Raid is a classic set. It's been around since a lot of days. It's bulky, it sets out with spikes. It runs all over with Florham and shit. It's really toxic and doesn't care. I mean, Vaporeon is one of the biggest parties and it's sort of gone down, but it's still a fun book. And yeah, it's really nice. And classic set is the Sleep Powder lead with Focus Ash and Chocolate Spikes. Scarf is also a really nice lead. I really like Scarf Roserade because some teams that use it, they forfeit a lot of momentum to Aerodactyl and Gazelle. And with Scarf, you just outrun them and surprise the fuck out of them. You can also do that for Sash 8 leads. And they're like, huh, stay down, fake out. What a weirdo. Although that might tip off some more experience there. Oh, and Infernape. That's what I was forgetting. Infernape's other shit is besides Grass Knot, will take out sometimes, which I would advocate now a lot because it doesn't kill Aerodactyl and it usually doesn't kill Gazelle. Roserade will stick anyway. Swampert is a lot more common with the Uprising, Trantar, and Zapdos leads. Trantar because it beat the until recently common Lead Star, semi-recently, a while ago, Lead Star me. And Zapdos because it dunks all over the champ. And hits Metagross really fucking hard, and there's Trantar. He trained at the start of the game to do what Zapdos does. Anyway. Right, so... Grass Knot. Big for the Leaf Swampert, and also nice for hitting Hippo. Although, you're gonna have to make a choice against Hippo. Either you get those rocks or you get Grass. I mean, odds are he's gonna stop that. Excuse me. But yeah, the alternative is Stealth Rock, Fire Blast, or Overheat, Vacuum Wave, Endeavor. It's a cool set. It's a really nice way to lure Starmie with lead Stealth Rock 8. I think it's worth it. You gotta keep the Sash, but I think it's definitely worth a try. Anyway, let's see. Solo is a bit not as good as everything. Anyway, so, yeah, that's Infernape. Roserade, I covered him. The only other real semi-common sleep lead is Smeargle. He's not really that common, so don't really worry about him. But he Stealth Rock Spikes after he scores something, and then his last... I mean, I saw Trick Scar Smeargle once when I was 13. This is great. But yeah, the last move is usually like Taunt or U-Turn. U-Turn I think is the best one, so you escape from Taunt from Arrow and Gazelle. It's a mind game depending on how you want to play it. Whirlwind is also conceivably it can run anything. I mean, it's fucking Smeargle. You can be creative with that last slot. Unfortunately, Magic Coat, which some of you might be thinking, hey, I can Magic Coat and block those rocks and taunts, doesn't work like that. It only blocks status. Hope you've been watching the whole thing and not skipping around, because otherwise you will miss crucial things like that. I will put that in the description for your well-being. Oh man, I shave this. I hate shaving, man. Let's see. Smeargle, there are other guys like Whisper can lead. Crobat is a great poke. Not great, but like it counters the fuck out of grass. It pressure stall with Taunt, Roost, and Speed, and conceivably Super Fang. Although Rotom is really common switching, so you don't really want to do that. Oh yeah, After Sin by the Slayers. It's a great Balloon counter. It's huge. Balloon is a bitch. Anyone who's ever played a Balloon will tell you how much of a fucking cocksucker that thing is. Yeah, so, I mean, a lot of things lead, man, but, the rough list is, let's say, Machamp, Metagross, Aerodactyl, Azel, Zapdos, Swampert, Hippowdon, Roserade, those are the really common guys. But I mean, anything that I've mentioned so far that can lead, and there's also Jirachi. Jirachi has a couple lead sets. It can be Trick Scarf. It can be a special attacker that has either rocks or all-out attacking. Yeah, I mean, depending on your team, anything can lead really. I mean, in Perfect Luck, one of the best players of all time, his famous Stall team, a lot of times he would lead with Twisty. So, and I mean, it doesn't really beat Zapdos. I think, and I know Malfoy took inspiration from IPL and used it a couple times about a year ago. So, I mean, it can definitely work. But, yeah, whatever, just make sure you have a strategy for beating competitors. And I would say that Azel is a really important lead to be able to beat. He sets the tone. Oh, and Polion, he's another big guy. He can rocks. I personally like all-out attacking because a lot of the time I find that Empoleon will either will be faced with a choice to either kill something or set up rocks. So a lot of times I prefer to set up rocks or something else. The thing is, Empoleon doesn't have really great synergy with any Stealth Rocker, so like you can't come in after a Revenge Killer comes in on him and be like, boom, rocks. The most I can think of is like Tyranitar coming in on Zapdos or Rotom. But yeah, let's say that Empoleon's a good lead, can do shit. Don't get tempted to use SD Defiant because that's not how Defiant works, because there's no defogging you can do. Rapid Spin is hazard prevention, that or fun. Or your, yeah, let's say that, anyway, leads, those are leads. Just I mean, this is really what you can say for everything in DPP, man. Just have a strategy for things. I mean, sometimes you are going to be weaker to some things than others. It's just a fact. It's up to you to play around with. And if a guy beats you, then, you know, sometimes he just beat you. It's the nature of the game. Let's say, let's see. So leads. Manage your leads smartly. Although, I mean, when ADV came to Smogon Tour, people started leading with Scarftar, and it did, you know, handle the Starmie lead. And nowadays, it still, you know, scares out Zapdos. You can pursue it if you feel like rolling it that way. There's no smart Zapdos will you turn against the Tyranitar lead. Tyranitar will either be Scarf, or Sash, or even DD in the lead position. DD is, you know, a couple years ago. IPL like to run that too, but yeah, it's mostly just Sash and Scarf. But yeah, because people are like, hey man, I don't really have a great lead, but hey, you know, we've been playing ADV and Tour. Leads aren't that important. I mean, they're nothing to get leaked over. Because there was a point when DPP was a main metagame where you would be amazed at how far people went to have the advantage on turn 1. I mean, it's not for bad reason either. So yeah, just be careful. And there's a great article in the Smog by Schofield. I will link it in the description. One sec, let me turn this down. See, this is a Japanese black metal, but it's still too loud. Anyway, there's a great article because people like to come in from the later gens and be like, man, lead matchup is bullshit, how can I... And you would think that for all the crying these people do about lead matchup, and then telling you that you can, you know, minimize your matchup in the later gens, you would think that they would try to minimize their lead matchup in DPP. Don't be lazy with your lead matchups, fellas. I mean, sometimes you're just gonna have a rough time against one, but if you've got a plan for it, Godspeed. If you don't expect to see it, sometimes it can be excused. I mean, you can't really excuse, you know, just being utterly trampled by an Azel lead most of the time, but like, sometimes it's just gonna be like, all right, man, I'm just gonna have to. I'll deal if I see one. I'll dance around it. It'll be rough, but I can get around it because that's how this metagame works. Anyway, it's a great read, and ideally you should have a plan for a game. The article explains a lot better than I could attempt to do right now, so just read it. Yeah, lead matchups. Those are your leads. Somehow managed to stay coherent on one topic. Hazards. Now, I can't really... I mean, the hazard metagame is really, really self-explanatory. You don't need me telling you about it. I mean, you've got your Starve Chart proceedings, so Starve you can spin, and fucking... It pursues a ghost, so you can spin, and blah, blah, blah. Just, I would advise being as active in the thing as possible. Play aggressively with your dudes. I mean, this goes for every generation, really. But you cannot sit on your ass, and then as Starmie spikes when Starmie comes out immediately, you should be taking it. You should be planning for that Starmie to come in. You should be like, oh man, I use spikes. Now I have to 50-50 whether he spins as I go to Rotom or Hydros as I whirlwind or blah blah fucking blah. Have a plan, man. Don't be laissez. I don't know how to pronounce it. Laissez-faire. You know what I mean. Laissez hyphen F-A-I-R-E. But, did I even spell Lysis or whatever right? You know what I fucking mean. Don't sit on your ass and then when it comes in, well, damn, 50-50 time. Fuck that. You can avoid that shit. You can ruin the Starmie. Scout his team more. Make it even more damage for when it comes in, assuming it's taken rocks already. Side note. If your Stealth Rocker beats Starmie and prevents it from coming in on you and spinning immediately, that will help a lot. I mean, it's not a rule for sure, but some teams, you know, they're gonna have to, you know, dance around a little, but it will help so much. Fortresses sort of fall into the wayside a little, so it can be excused, but if your Stealth Rocker beats him and Starmie, you will be in good shape. I mean, sometimes you might run into, like, Donphan or Hitmontop stall, but you can play around those with doubles. I mean, if a guy is walling you really hard, and he's falling into a pattern because, you know, why the fuck wouldn't he? Unless, you know, your team should be able to be equipped to it. So double on his ass, man. Just put pressure on him. If this guy's walling you to Kingdom Come with Hitmontop or Donphan stall, don't just set up rocks as they come in yet again and then switch out. Or fucking chip at them with your Stealth Rock. I'm speaking from... I haven't really faced many with them because they're rare for good reason, but with my Stealth Rock Tyranitar variant, one of my many Stealth Rock Tyranitar variants, is those two are the only spinners who really give him trouble. You know, I would fucking attack that shit, wear them down, or double the Gloom or something, you know? Anyway, so, yeah, that's just all I have to say. Anyway, this extends to the spikes thing. Because all I see is people, you know, laying down their spike because they have a free turn with Skarm as Starmie comes in. Oh, I have a free turn with Skarm. What am I supposed to do with it? I don't know. He's not staying in with a Swampert to get spiked on 3 times. Whirlwinds, man. Fucking punish that Starmie for coming. Use Brave Bird. The first movie. Okay, I didn't see it live, but when I was 14 in late 2010, I was reading this thread about Team Preview in Black and White, and apparently, Earthworm had done this thing in a World Cup game where he seemingly randomly Brave Birded with a Skarm and caught an unrevealed Breloom. I mean, that sort of shit is like, if he punished a guy for expecting him to play passively, I really wish I could see the game it was from. If you know where it was from, please tell me. I gotta get that shit. But I've been looking for it for 5 years. But yeah, like. Brave Birding? Okay, you don't kill Starmie, you chip it, you force it to recover. You get a free switch for your next guy, push later. You don't need spikes immediately. What's the big deal? What's the rush? If he's really so, like, passive, or, I hate to be using this word so much because I think it's so fucking stupid. And one of the worst things, the XY kids. Nothing against the XY kids, but I really hate that word. It's anything without 400 special attack and Swords Dance is passive, but... exaggeration, but yeah, just, you know, play aggressive, whirlwind them, Brave Bird them, and if they're really so, like, slow paced with their team that they are throwing
Starmie in as their best defense against Scarm, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to spike up, trust me. Send in your other fucking Pokemon. I mean, I started to talk about this earlier in the video. One of the first things, rather, don't crunch on Starmie. Don't send it immediately into Scarm. That is your only recourse. Come on, guys. And again, Scarm guys, don't play aggressive Brave Bird. Not only will you, weaken Starmie and catch people, you'll catch Infernape. You know how much Infernape loves switching into Skarmory? Christ. I mean, and even if you hit, something like Zapdos or something, that's why Whirlwinding might be better sometimes. But at the same time, if you got a feeling, and this goes into figuring out last, if you think, hey man, I think this team might have Infernape, he might be trying to switch it in and, fuck me up right now. This Infernape is dangerous. If I don't have a Nidoqueen, I'm feeling pretty threatened by it a lot. Nidoqueen is a great poke, by the way. It's really, I mean, I can't say it's underrated anymore, but because it is NU, but it is easily, I think, easily the best lower tier poke that is used in OU. I mean, Clefable is up there for sure, but Nidoqueen is huge. Its typing is great. Stealth Rock and Tweet Spikes. It's just awesome. Clefable's great because Magic Guard and Calm Mind, so it can beat super quote-unquote passive teams, but whatevs. Yeah, Scarm. It's just play aggressively with it, man. This is why Fortress isn't as good. Like, what are you gonna do? Pay back the Infernape switch in? I mean, Starmie shouldn't be switching into Fortress, but I guess you can punish that. But yeah, Fortress. It's not bad. It's just not as good, obviously. Yeah, I don't think anyone could even debate that. Skarmory is unquestionably better than Fortress. Phasing is huge, guys. Oh yeah, this is the Hazard metagame semi-skill, but yeah, just it's self-explanatory, really. Also, if you've got a lot of taunt pokes, then it'll help. I mean, I don't really like Taunt Scar, but it'll help a lot. The score is a big one. It can really, even if it doesn't single-handedly wear out Stallish teams, it can certainly help you, get on the right foot against them. And there are also guys like Mix Dragonite and Mixcon that I mentioned earlier, along with, certain variants of Heatran. Everyone expects, Scarf or Stealth Rock, but, an all-out offensive Life Orb or Specs Heatran, he's putting some dents into that shit. I think Life Orb is slightly better because having to predict the rest, but after Transtall is a pain in the dick hole, but, it works. And those Specs overheats are pretty fucking powerful. Like, you're only fire resistant Starmie and the other guy has a Specs Heatran, you are in trouble, man. Unless your team is offensive as fuck. But a lot of offensive teams, they manage to have a lot of fire resist, just because a lot of offensive folks resist fire. So, odds are, you're one of those defensive teams with a trillion spikes, and, oh man, I'm going to wall everything. Oh, my Starmie's own fire resist, unless you have a Blissey, of course, but, it's not the case a lot. So, let us see, what else? We've got the leads, the hazards, guessing of the lasts. I think I've covered most things. I guess I'll go into some random pokes or strategies that I find solid against others. Hippo and Spadef Jirachi are really good against a lot of offense. Just with Hippo, make sure you don't, have a Breloom counter if you're running defense, guys. Okay, you need that shit. Otherwise, it stuns me whenever I see a really defensive team and there's just no Breloom counter, and they've got the biggest bait for it ever in fucking Hippo and Swampert. Use Breloom counters, guys. Use Breloom. It's amazing. Yeah. So, excuse me. But, so those guys are, Spadef Jirachi is really good. It threatens paralysis, and it's really bulky, so it's hard to kill. Scouts choice users that try to kill it, like it Ape, some Trance, Flygons, some D-Knights. Similarly, offensive Jirachi is really good. I mean, Jirachi in general is just amazing against offense. Not so great against defense, but I mean, certain sets against certain teams, like certain mixed sets against a lot of semi-stall teams, can really, put the hurt on. And Super Rachi is just a great sweeper. It's HP grind for train or not, it's just awesome. It can swing a million ways. Agility Zapdos just cleaves through so much shit. Why did I even say agility? Just Zapdos in general. It's just, although I think Zapdos it really likes having a poke that can keep rocks against Starmie, so it can, you know, pressure everything else with rocks. And it also really likes having Balloon, because HP Grass Zapdos is, for the most part, really bad. Okay, on specs, it's usable for sure, but on offensive sets, use Ice, please. You should not be getting walled by Flygon and Gliscor. D9 should not be able to take that hit from you. You need Ice, especially if you're not running Heat Wave, in which case, fucking, you know, Grass types wall you. That's not good. Subaru's Toxic Zapdos used to be a favorite of a lot of great players. It's sort of rare now, but it's still great. Note about Magikarp Clefable. It is immune to full paralysis. It can't get fully paralyzed. Switch it into the next T-Wave you see. Just marvel. Yes, it's pretty great. Not many people know about it. It's a great feeling, really, to be paralyzed and not be able to full paralyze. And full paralysis is kind of nuts when you think about it, man. Like 25% every turn. That's fucking crazy. That's a will-o-wisp miss. Anyway. So, Dragon Dance Transformer is really good against a lot of, it busts up a lot of stall teams that don't go with a hard counter to it. There aren't that many. I mean, there are bench killing options, but I don't want to make it sound like your options are limited to beat or anything. I mean, there's a lot of ways to beat cards. Just a lot of stall teams tend to say, hey, I can switch in choice cards, attacks, I'm fine, and then it DDs and this fucks you up. I used to be guilty of this quite a lot. I mean, if a team is relying on Scarm to phase out DD Tar, it's DD Tar weak. I mean, if you're aggressive with your hazards, you can get away with this. Remember, play aggressive. Scout that shit. Weaken them. But yeah, it's scouting is important, and I'll get more into scouting through the last pokes. Scouting is important to figure out the last pokes. Anyway, let's see. This is Dub War. They're from Wales, I think. They're great. Anyway, I'm getting worn out a little, which is, yeah. He's also really strong, like I said earlier, against a lot of the special attacking offensive guys. They just get cleaved. Same with Life Orb Arrow. Breloom is amazing against, if you can keep rocks up, notice keeping rocks up, it's big, but it's not like crushingly big. It's important, but like, I think you get the idea. But yeah, if you keep rocks up and you have a Breloom against a stall team, you are putting pressure on them. The thing is, because they might have a hard counter, but fighting types counters have a lot of crippling flaws. For example, look at where is this fighting? Ghost, Pursuit weak. Flying, Rocks weak. The things that are only half flying and thus are neutral to rocks, they don't resist fighting anymore. Psychic, Pursuit, and U-turn weak. So, I mean, this, you can see, fighting types, they're not overpowered or anything, but you can see why they're powerful. I mean, Black and White was thought of as the age of the fighter with the introduction of fucking Terrakion and Control there. I still think is great, but yeah, they're dangerous. So, and Balloon has longevity. That's what separates it from Infernape and Lucario and even Machamp. You know, so it's staying alive a long time, and it comes in on a lot. So much, especially because they can't really hit it back hard. Great Pokemon. I crutch on Balloon a lot, so that's just me. There are other ways, of course, but I mean, it also, you know, switches in Trentar and Aerodactyl. I am terrified of Aerodactyl. I don't use it much, but I know it's fucking scary when I see it. So, yeah, let's say Balloon is really good against a lot of defense. It's not useless against offense. Everyone thinks it just crumples offense. No, it's great. But yeah, Balloon is awesome. Shaman is offensive Shaman. Actually, all forms of Shaman, Leech Seed and offensive. Not Scarf. I'm not the biggest fan of Scarf. There's this one double grass team with Balloon and Scarf Shaman / Celebi. I'm not really a fan. But yeah, offensive Shaman can really fuck with a lot of teams, depending on its hidden power. Of course, there are combinations like Dragonite plus Scizor. If it's got fire, and then, you know, Dragonite beats it, and Ice. But I think fire is best because a lot of things that, you know, fuck with it as fire are, you know, like Dragonite, you know, stealth rock weakness. I can work with that, man. I mean, Scizor might be immediately less threatening, though, so it really depends on the team. And Leech Protect just fucks with a lot of offense. And, yeah, offense. I don't think Life Orb is good for the same reason I don't love Life Orb on Zapdos. I think it dies really quick. And its great natural bulk is part of what makes it nice. I also like Leftovers on offense with Starmie, though, so it's just me. I don't like when Starmie dies. Although Life Orb, it is a fucking terror. Don't sleep on Life Orb Starmie. Don't sleep on Starmie, guys. At the same time, don't crunch on Starmie. I mean, besides the use Adamant Scarf God thing, if you learn nothing else, don't crunch on Starmie. I know it can be hard sometimes, but, you know. So, those are some quotes I think are good. Oh, I also think that non-Stealth Rock, non-choice Scarf Heatran is... It used to be like, you know, just special attacking Heatran, but everyone wants to either have Tran have utility via Stealth Rock or Scarf, and that's cool and all for roll compression, as the XY kids call it, but Tran is a really fucking potent. Like, when you absolve it of these responsibilities, it's a weird way to put it, but like, when you're not relying on it to do it, and just say, Heatran, get in there, fuck his shit up, without, you know, needing to set up rocks, or, you know, be the revenge killer, is really nice. And a lot of teams, not to mention, a lot of teams aren't ready for it either, so. And see August versus Go10 during this most recent World Cup for a good example. Yeah, especially because you can tweak its resist berries as you see fit. I think resist berries are really underrated, and that's a really nice way. It's a neat tech, another XY kid lingo. I've been infected. But, yeah, a lot of the ways you can patch up weaknesses sometimes, if you're willing to give up leftovers or, you know, a boosting item, then, like Expert Belt, then go on Resist Berry. It works. I mean, Shuka, Jirachi, and Metagross. No safer way to, you know, patch up your weakness against some DVers. I forgot to mention Angelogross when I was talking about Metagross earlier, but yeah. Of course, if you're going that Steel Psychic route, you could skip the Shuka and go Bronzong, which is a great cleaner like game with the Trick Room and offensive Trick Room. Yes, it's supposed to defensive Trick Room. That's not playing. Don't use it. But it can also do things like Trick Iron Ball and Macho Brace, and even Choice Band, or just be a Stealth Rock set, or Protect with Toxic for Toxic Spices. Devastating. Sticks around forever. That's another great poke against offensive teams. Protect Bronzong. Awesome. Just, you know, their fire type, you know, their Heatran or their Ape, they like to, you know, threaten Jirachi. I mean, but if Jirachi does a nice job because it, you know, takes hits and threatens paralysis. But Bronzong's got Earthquake. And, you know, it shits on Magnezone too with Earthquake and Empoleon, All Mine Jirachi. Not that Split Jirachi doesn't, but, you know, Bronzong doesn't have the Stealth Rock. Or, isn't Stealth Rock resist? But it's the ground immune, really. Doesn't have Wish, but, you know, it can do stuff. It's a great counter to SD +4. It's huge. And unlike Scarf, it's not Magnezone. As Magnezone weak, because Magnezone almost never runs Scarf. Or Specs, rather. It's almost always Custap, Thunderbolt, HP Fire, conceivably Ice or Grass or some shit. Or Flash Cannon, I guess. But you usually want Fire for Scizor, Fortress, Endure, and Explosion. Ghostbusters, Mistbusters. Explosions and crashes. Speaking of explosions, Bronzong explodes on. Sweeper's about to sweep a lot. Nice safety net. But yeah, he's cool. Bronzong strong. Yeah, it kind of gets spiked on by Scarm, something horrible, but it's if you can make up for it's the same deal as Spectrachi. If you can make up for that, it's gonna be a great poke against offense. Infernape's really dangerous against slower teams. Oh, a nice thing I like to run on some Infernapes is Slack Off. Because a lot of these slow teams, they rely on Infernape wearing itself down with Life Orb and they're being sand in the picture. And then you Slack Off on their Protect or Switch or something and they're like, oh man, I gotta do it again. And they're gonna fuck him at some point. So, Infernape's dangerous. All Jirachis really, there's a Jirachi set that you can, you know, tailor to fix the needs of almost any team. You know? Right now, Skinker is great against offense. I mean, these are off the top of the head. I'm missing so many. You have no idea. So please, just ask me in the comments I'll say this again at the end of the video, but ask me in the comments for any questions you might have. Okay, so now for the thing everyone wants. Let me put on a different song for this important section of figuring out the other guy's lasts.
And no, it is not as simple as know his team. That does help, though. It really does.
Ah, yes. Transylvanian Hungers.
The black metals.
Okay, okay. So, there are a lot of ways you can choose. You can try to figure out your opponent's last guy. You can scout him. You can, say, oh, I recognize this team. And I mean, it helps. But you can, the obvious answer is analyze his team. So let's say he's shown Dragonite, Flygon, Scarfrachi, Magnezone, Filler. You want to know what his last is? Hey, man, he doesn't have a water type, and Kinger's also a dragon, and it likes Skarmory dead, which is what Magnezone's for. Hey, there might be a DD Kinger. I don't know. Things like that. So that's the easy answer, and experience will be the best teacher. But the advice I can give you is try to figure out how he's played. This is like, if Starmie comes in and he just without hesitation just blows it up with his Heatran, he might either A, be Starmie weak, and or B, really wants have something else that really wants Starmie dead. So you might want to watch out for a possible Infernape. I took that example from Husk. There was a Battling 101 seminar 5 years ago that I and many other players have studied religiously. I'm hoping that the Battling 101 staff will have another one of those at some point soon. It was really helpful, and it's where I learned a lot of stuff. Although I also attribute my learning to playing a lot, being observant, and I really have to satisfy my ego. I'm sorry, guys, but that was a great. I think originally he had a Heatran splitting on Vaporeon, but Starmie is more relevant now. But the idea is the same. To use an original example, let's say that some people, they like to play Restrained with their mixed Trantar, because some people are smart and they check for bluffs. It's early game double switching to check for bluffs and also try to gain an advantageous matchup as they switch. I love seeing those. So Tyranitar crunches a Starmie or something and in comes Skarm. Immediate switch out to Hippo, or maybe not Hippo, because immediate switch out to maybe, well, ideally your switch in to check for the lure can also handle it if it does end up being that set, because if you switch your Heatran into Tyranitar from Skarmory as it Fire Blasts, well, I mean, you're probably going to have some trouble switching into it if that's its moveset, but so ideally you might want to go to your Gliscor or something, or maybe your own Tyranitar with the Scarf ending Dragon, things like that. And, it's the sort of thing I love to see in all gens, really. But yeah, so if he immediately Fire Blasts like that, he might be going, man, I need that Skarm dead. He might have a bulky SD Scissor or something, or a Bronzong, or a Trick Room Bronzong that really wants that Skarm out of the picture. I mean, and he also might not have the greatest ways of dealing with Skarm. So next time I get it in on, I don't know, his Scarf Flygon Earthquake, or Ban Flygon Earthquake, or whatever, then I might want to, whirlwind around and make him fuck up a little. Put some pressure on him. I don't need to just lay spikes because, there's spikes. So, it's all about, being aware of what's going on the battlefield. Another thing is what he's weak to. If the guy has this depends on the player, really, because someone like Heist, if he has no waters, it's 5 pokes in, you can't bank on the last one being it. So knowing your opponent is big, but in a general DPP game, you face a guy on the ladder, the guy has no fire resists, and his whole team is slower than Infernape, then, odds are he might have a Starmie, or maybe a Dragonite if he's got a different spinner like Fortress, or Donphan, or hand on top, I guess. Dragonite is conceivable. But yeah, it's things like that. And I mean, I can give you a trillion examples, but the best thing will be just playing and trying it out for yourself. I'll give you an example from a game I played against CL and in Smogon Tour 14. It was during the regular season. So I had seen he led with a Mamoswine. I was running a stall team. I had a Swampert, Fortress, Venusaur, Restock Rotom, Bulky DD Dragonite, Chartar, and he had a lead Mamoswine, a Magnezone who was unrevealed, but I assumed to be Scarf because of the relative lack of speed on his team. He had an SD Lucario, a Lightful Gengar, a Band Tyranitar. I didn't immediately think the Magnezone was Scarf, but after seeing his other guys, I was like, alright, so he's got no water type. He's got a Magnezone, which is assumably Scarf. He's got he needs that second fire resist. Otherwise, you know, he tried Earth Powers a few times, and you know, Scarf Fire Blast leaves him in the dust. And he's got the Magnezone support for the Scarf that's big. I'm assuming DD Kingdra. What was it? It was a DD Kingdra. I had not encountered that particular team of his before. It's just like, and I'm sorry to toot my own horn, but okay, I'll use another example from that I can remember off the top of my head. So this is a better example of there's the kind I described, which was figuring out what it is based on his team. Here's one based on a guy's playing. And I would love to toot my own horn and, you know, say I've done this before. And I can't not say that I haven't, because I'm sure I have. But yeah, I'm sorry for the narcissism, guys. It was, I won't say it was unavoidable. And this is how where I say it kind of was, but forgive me, please. I've got to work on this. But the example is analyzing how someone was playing. So it was a tour final, a DPP tour during the regular season of Smogon Tour 13. My Pokemon memory is stupid good. On this, I can be as proud as I want. 6-9 Ace Matador against a guy named, I forget the guy's name. Eradicator, that's him. I don't know if he's still around, but everyone was saying, hey man, I recognize this team. We've seen the Scarftard, the Fortress, the Vaporeon, the Rotom, the Gliscor. Bonus points to you if you listen to that and you said, wow, that's really weak. It sure fucking is. Everyone was like, oh yeah man, Draco Malfoy used this team a lot. This is the team Earthworm liked to run in 2010. Most people, including myself, recognize or identify it as Earthworm's team if it has the special defensive Tran that, whatchamacallit, the Spef Tran that everyone assumed it was. I mean, you could also say, hey, it's a standard balance team, man. Everyone's uses Conflict, has, Blue, has, whatevs. But, yeah, that's, and everyone was like, oh, man, Spef Tran, dude, I've got the team right here. Ace Matador, he was like, nah, I think it's Jirachi. I think it's called my Jirachi. And he did not figure, and I'm a bit hazy on the details, I'm really sorry, but I remember there was this one turn, it was huge. If it was Spef Tran, yeah, I remember now. So, if it was, there was this one turn where he was in a hole. His team, he was fighting against Stall, but the guy was sort of messing with him a little. And there was this one turn where Am had his Subroost Zapdos. And this guy's one switch was his Scarftard so far. Now, everyone was saying, hey man, it's V-Train last. And this guy, Am figured out, not only is Scarftar as a switch into Subroost Zapdos kind of stupid if you had a Spef Tran, not only did he switch it in like that, he also tried to pursue it. And this was a turn where Am was like, I'm behind, I gotta make a play, and he roosted on the Tranitar. He might have had EVs that gave him a good chance to live with Stone Edge, but if I remember correctly, he wasn't at high health, or high enough health, or too high of health. And he stayed it like that, and the guy pursued it. And he was like, No, man, he wouldn't pursue like that if he had a Smith train. He's secure as fuck. Why would he want to pursue? He doesn't need to press his advantage on the Zapdos of all things, unless it threatened him. And while Carmine Jirachi isn't exactly obliterated by so many Zapdos, he sure does not like taking those T-bolts. Lo and behold, it was a Carmine Jirachi. I hope that example is good. And I think on that note, there's, off the top of my head, I might have missed some stuff. I'm almost certain I did. I might do another part of this where I do more in-game examples like this. Like the last two I did here. In fact, I think I will. But yeah, please feel free to ask me any questions. Here on IRC, I'm in the channel #DPP. As Autumn leads, I'm the channel owner. So ask me questions. Here, Smogon, where fucking ever. I really hope this helped you guys, because I fucking like helping people, because it helps me cope with my issues. But yeah, I also just fucking love talking about this metagame. It was my first, and it will always be one of my favorites. So, thank you guys for watching. Please, if you just got here and you skipped around, watch the whole thing. You will miss stuff otherwise. And I'd like to think I'm entertaining enough to, you know, keep you interested the whole way. So, thank you guys for watching. I hope this helped you out. I'll catch you later.